بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم أما بعد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد, to mawqif or not to mawqif? That is the question. It is April 2020, and for over a year now, a new piece of Arabic vocabulary is raging through Sunni communities worldwide. These are the words su'ufuq and its plural sa'afiqa. And we're being led to believe that the argument behind these words is something from the heritage that we got from the Salaf. We are led to believe that indulging in such arguments which go something like,
Yeah, Sa'fuq. No, it's not me, it's you. Yes, it is you. Sheikh Fulan says you are Sa'fuq. Yes, but Sheikh Alan says it's not true in that in reality. You are the Sa'fuq. Yeah, but Sheikh Za'taran, he always agrees with Sheikh Fulan. So they both say that you are the Sa'fuq,
etc., etc., etc. We are led to believe that the entire lifestyle that now comes with such arguments, hashtag su'ufuq, and all this social media buzz behind it, we are led to believe that this is reflecting and being the practice of the life of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam and his companions, the likes of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar ibn al-Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Talha, Zubair, and the great scholars from the Sahaba, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. We are led to believe that this is the reflection of what they were upon. It is their path, as well as the path of their students. You can just imagine Abdullah ibn Abbas in his circles with people like Taus ibn Kaysan, Ikrimah, Mujahid, and telling them about the obligation of taking a mawqif when the su'ufuqi stuff comes up. And the consequences have been drastic. As far as not taking a mawqif, that is considered an absolute crime. Whoever refuses to take a mawqif, whoever refuses to be with the haqq, these people have to be excommunicated, rejected, even their children expelled from social circles, educational circles. And we are led to believe that this is the way of the Salaf. This particular phenomenon hasn't come about straight out of the blue. It is the result, it is the fruit from a very long problem that has very deep roots into the foundation of our understanding of what Salafiyya is, of what the Sunnah is, and of what knowledge is. Today, knowledge is a form of buzz, and it's a collection of buzzwords. Whoever memorizes these buzzwords and has a very vague understanding of their meanings can learn to use these buzzwords to throw them up in conversations, hashtags and whatnot, and in such he will be able to raise himself and lower other people. And within this dynamic, a great number of virtuous students of knowledge from the West have been written off. People who wanted to learn deen from them have been made to believe or have been made to doubt that these people are trustworthy sources of knowledge. And instead of learning the religion, they are learning the quote manhaj, which then leads them to get involved in such discussion, because supposedly that is the manhaj of the Salaf. So we shall be looking at some of the fundamental issues that have to be understood in order to make sense out of all of this. And some of these matters might have been explained in lectures, seminars, etc., but always kept at a very theoretical level, completely disconnected from understanding and practice in real life situations. So in order to explain these fundamentals, we're going to look at a number of books. From these books is this one here, رفع الملام عن الأئمة الأعلام by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. رفع الملام, it means removing the blame عن الأئمة الأعلام, from our أئمة, our great scholars. This particular book is dealing with khilaf, disagreeing amongst scholars. It explains what are the root causes of disagreements and how we are supposed to act with this disagreement. It's a fairly complicated book. That's why we shall only look at a few parts that will serve the purpose of this particular talk. Another book we shall be looking at is this book here, also by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, اقتضاء الصراط المستقيم. And more precisely, we will look at the chapter where he is speaking about disagreeing and the blameworthy type of disagreeing. Furthermore, we shall look at Minhaj al-Sunnah, also by Ibn Taymiyyah. This particular book here is the Mukhtasar, that's the one I have. It's the summary of Minhaj al-Sunnah. So the book Minhaj al-Sunnah is by Ibn Taymiyyah, and this Mukhtasar, this summary, is done by Shaykh Abdul Rahman ibn Hassan, who is the grandson of Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, the author of Kitab al-Tawheed, rahimahullah ta'ala. First of all, what is knowledge and where does it come from? Easy question, but not getting this right can have detrimental consequences. First of all, the Quran and the Sunnah are the source of knowledge. They are the absolute foundation and source where everything is taken from. From what we get from the Quran and the Sunnah, we have different categories of knowledge. From them is, of course, fiqh, rulings. Fiqh is going to be dealing with rulings of actions in life. What are our obligations? What are the matters that are prohibited? Then we have aqidah, which is the knowledge of belief. What is the belief system of Islam? Who is Allah? Where is Allah? What does Allah do? What are His actions? What are His attributes? It includes the knowledge of the unseen, information from the matters that have been hidden from us, from the past, the present, and the future, in this life and in the afterlife. We have the knowledge of tafsir, explaining the Quran. What is the meaning, or what are the meanings of the surah and the verses of the Quran? And of course, the knowledge of hadith, which could be classified into two subcategories, which is the knowledge of narration vs understanding. How is hadith authentically transmitted, passed down to us? And then how do we understand the different ahadith? How do we select? And once we have selected, what rulings do we take from it? We could also say that another branch of knowledge is raqa'iq, which is purifying your heart, purifying your mind, educating yourself upon ibadah, educating yourself upon akhlaq, etc. From the first questions that we need to ask ourselves is, where does manhaj fit into all of this? Ask yourself, in all honesty, when did you hear of this word manhaj in the past? And how much did you hear of it? We know about scholars who specialize in fiqh. We call them faqih, fuqaha. We have al-a'immatul arba', Malik, Abu Hanifa, Shafi'i and Ahmad. They are the a'immatul madhahib of fiqh. We have the scholars that specialize in tafsir. From the Sahaba we have, of course, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and his students, Mujahid, Ikrimah, Tawus ibn Kaysan and others. We have the scholars that specialize in hadith, Al-Imam Ahmad, Al-Imam Malik and many others, Al-Bukhari, Muslim, the A'immatul Hadith. We don't have scholars that uniquely specialize in the raqa'iq. However, we will see that usually all our a'imma have some connection to raqa'iq, purifying the heart, the mind, and raising yourself upon ibadah. We also see that the fuqaha, the mufassirin, and the muhaddithin from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah speak about aqidah. It might not be their primary specialization, but they have from minimal to extensive works on explaining the aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Where do we have this specialization in manhaj that some people talk about? The specialization in manhaj, which they use to justify throwing out all the rulings and advice of the absolute majority of scholars of our time, because supposedly they are not specialized in manhaj. Where do we see that? Where do we see books dealing with manhaj under this modern day understanding, which is all about throwing people under the bus basically? Where are these books in the past? That's a very good question for you people. What is manhaj? Where does it fit in this broader picture? Manhaj is, in a way, what is between the source and the result. أصول الفقه, قواعد الفقه, مصطلح الحديث. Those are sciences that we would consider be manhaj. And if you don't want to take my word for it, I refer you to one of these people's website, which is manhaj.com, manhaj.com, and you will find there a question and answer, a question that was asked Sheikh Ubaid, what is the differentiation, or what is the difference between Aqidah and Manhaj? The simple fact that such a question is asked shows you how such fundamental, simple issues are kept vague and foggy in the minds of the people, and this vagueness is a fantastic playground for all kinds of manipulation. Sheikh Ubaid answers this question in all honesty, saying that Aqidah is the belief system of Islam. I don't remember exactly how he phrased it and how it has been translated by the people of that website. And he explains that Manhaj is the rules of interpretation that lead us to take the correct Aqidah from the Quran and the Sunnah. That is basically what I have explained to you right here. Qawa'id al-fiqh, for example, دفع المفاسد أولى من جلب المصالح. That is a matter of manhaj, and that you will find this in the books of Qawa'id al-fiqh. Repelling an evil is more important than bringing about a good. That's from the manhaj of Ahlul Sunnah, right? And many other things. Usul al-fiqh and usul al-tafsir. This is where you're going to have all these rules concerning the qawl of the Sahaba. What do we do with the qawl of a Sahaba? What is the weight of the qawl of a Sahabi? You will find how to analyze the Quran as far as, let's say, mujmal and mufassal is concerned. All of this is manhaj, brothers and sisters. Today, the understanding of manhaj has been reduced to who's in and who is out. That is not the manhaj of the Salaf, Ikhwan. Let's move on to khilaf, disagreeing, diverging, having different opinions. The scholars have classified khilaf into three main categories. A kind of oversimplified understanding of khilaf is that it's okay to have khilaf in fiqh, but it's not okay to have khilaf in aqidah. In other words, any khilaf in aqidah necessarily involves a deviance, a bid'ah. Like, for example, qadar, negating qadar. We have the aqidah of Ahlul Sunnah being the reality of qadar, and there are many masail, there are many topics under this particular title, and anything that goes out of this is a bid'ah. That was the bid'ah of the Qadariyah and the Jabariyah. Whereas in fiqh, khilaf in fiqh is okay. That is an oversimplified, incorrect way of tackling it, and this has led to a lot of misunderstandings and unnecessary arguments and disputes amongst our community. The scholars, they classify khilaf into three categories. We have khilafut tanawwu', which is diversity. We have khilaf afham, which is disagreeing based upon different understandings. And we have khilaf tabad, which is contradicting. Now, a number of scholars actually say these two categories, they call these two categories khilaf tabad, and then within khilaf tabad they make the differentiation they make the differentiation between what khilaf is based upon afham and what is tabad, clear contradiction. So what does this mean? First of all, khilaf tanawwu' That is when we have different ways that are all authentically reported and acted upon by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ or the Sahaba, and although they're different, they're all authentic and accepted. For example, we have the 3 ways of doing Hajj. We have the different ways of doing Adhan. We have the different qira'at of the Quran, and that is key, as we shall see later on, inshallah ta'ala. We have the different ways of doing Salatul Witr. Those are all different, however, they are all correct. So this is a diversity in the Sharia. Different ways of accomplishing something. Then we have khilafu afham. Here, in this particular type of disagreeing, we have something which is right and something which is wrong. However, the text that we have used from the Quran and the Sunnah, by applying the rules of manhaj, the rules of deducting rulings from the Quran and the Sunnah, we can't come up with a clear-cut decision between this way and that way. However, we see that both these ways are within a range of what is an acceptable interpretation of the ayat of the Quran, the ahadith of the Sunnah, based upon the rulings of fiqh, istinbat, etc. The next stage is khilaf of contradicting. In this particular case, we have the right qawl or a range of right aqwal, and then we have a qawl which is beyond that range. We have a qawl, an opinion that cannot be justified from the text of the Quran and the Sunnah based upon the qawa'id that we use to interpret the Quran and the Sunnah. And one of the main reasons for this happening is al-istilal bil-mutashabih. Because a core matter in these rulings right here, the core matters of manhaj, the rulings of manhaj, are the differentiation between texts from the Quran and the Sunnah that are muhkam, clear-cut, and mutashabih, ambiguous. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about in Surah Ali Imran, in the first page of Surah Ali Imran. And we shall look at this now, inshallah ta'ala, from the tafsir of Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah ta'ala. The version that I have here is Al-Misbah al-Munir, which is the summarized, abridged version of Tafsir Ibn Kathir by Shaykh Safiur Rahman al-Mubarakfuri, rahimahullah ta'ala. And this book is available in English. I strongly advise that you read this up for yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب. So Allah says, He is the one who has sent down upon you the book. From this book are ayatun muhkamat. Ayat, verses that are muhkamat. And we shall read in the tafsir the meaning of muhkamat. Hunna ummul kitab. They are the of the kitab. We shall also see in the tafsir what that means. Wa ukharu mutashabihat. And others that are mutashabihat, that are ambiguous. فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ. As for those that have zayg, that have perversion, that have straying in their heart, deviance in their heart, فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ. They are following the ambiguous ones, the ambiguous ayat. ابتغاء الفتنة وابتغاء تأويله. Because they want They are doing this because they want to create fitna with this, and they want to make ta'wil. They want to make other interpretations within these branches of knowledge. وما يعلم تأويله إلا الله. And here we have different قراءات. والراسخون في العلم يقولون آمنا كل من عند ربنا. And none knows the interpretation of these mutashabihat, those ambiguous ayat, إلا الله. There is a waqf here, and some scholars read it without waqf. والراسخون في العلم. And those that are firmly grounded in knowledge. So, let's move on to the explanation. يخبر تعالى أن في القرآن آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب أي بينات واضحات الدلالة. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is informing us that in His Quran, in the Quran, there are ayat muhkamat. There are ayat that are clear. أي واضح الدلالة. Clear, واضحات الدلالة. That are clear and whose meanings or the rulings that they indicate are clear. واضحات الدلالة. The dilala is the indication. So the meaning is clear and they indicate something clear. Like for example, أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس. Establish the prayer. It's a clear ayah and it indicates something clear. There is not much room for philosophy in here. لا التباس فيها على أحد. They are not confusing to anybody. ومنه آيات أخر فيها اشتباه في الدلالة. And there are other verses that are mutashabihat, that فيها اشتباه. There is an ambiguity as far as what they indicate is concerned. على كثير من الناس أو بعضهم. So most of the people or some of the people, على كثير من الناس أو بعضهم, most of the people or some of the people will not understand what these ayat indicate. فمن رد ما اشتبه عليه إلى الواضح منه حكم محكمه على متشابهه عنده. So whoever takes these ambiguous ayat, but as far as the meaning is concerned, refers to the muhkam ayat, the clear ayat, then that is what is required from this ayah. رَدُّ الْمُتَشَابِهِ إِلَى الْمُحْكَمِ. If you can't understand the ambiguous one, go back to the clear one. Here you shall understand what is intended by the ambiguous one. وَمَنْ عَكَسَ إِنْعَكَسَ. And whoever does the opposite, whoever nullifies the clear ayat by going back to the ambiguous ayat, then he has done the opposite of what is required, and he will, instead of going to what is correct, going to what the Quran clearly ordered you to, he will nullify that and go towards something which is incorrect. Then Allah says, لذلك قال هن أم الكتاب. So what's the meaning of الكتاب? These ayat muhkamat, this clear. They are أصله الذي يرجع إليه عند الاشتباه. The ayat واضحات, the muhkamat, the clear ayat, they are the foundation that one has to go back to in case of ambiguity. وأخر متشابهات أي تحتمل دلالتها موافقة المحكم وقد تحتمل شيئا آخر من حيث اللفظ والتركيب. So the ambiguous ayat, they can be interpreted in the way of the muhkam ayat, the clear ayat, but they can also be interpreted otherwise. And this is why we have to stick to the interpretation which is in accordance, موافقة المحكم, in accordance to the muhkam, the clear one. Further on, he says, قال محمد بن إسحاق ابن يسار رحمه الله تعالى منه آيات محكمات فيهن حجة الرب وعصمة العباد ودفع الخصوم والباطل وليس لهن تصريف ولا تحريف عما وضعن له. He says, this is Muhammad ibn Ishaq ibn Yasar talking. He says that the ayat muhkamat, they are hujjatul Rabb. They are the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa ismatul ibad, the strength and the protection of the slaves from misguidance. Wa daf'ul khusum wal batil. These are the ones that are pushing away arguing and falsehood. وَلَيْسَ لَهُنَّ تَصْرِيفٌ وَلَا تَحْرِيفٌ. They cannot be misinterpreted or twisted in a way to indicate something wrong. And others, وَالْمُتَشَابِهَاتِ لَهُنَّ تَصْرِيفٌ وَتَحْرِيفٌ وَالتَّأْوِيلٌ. As far as the ambiguous ayat is concerned, they can be muharraf, they can be changed, they can be twisted, they can be misinterpreted, and this is part of the test that Allah has put upon the ibad. And he says like ابتلى الله فيهن العباد كما ابتلاهم في الحلال والحرام. So Allah has tested us with shahawat. Us human beings, we are inclined to worldly pleasures, and Allah has tested us with this. Are we going to remain straight and honorable upon piety, or are we going to indulge into this? Likewise, these ayat mutashabihat, they are a fertile ground for people who are tried with grandiosity within their own selves, hatred towards the deen, etc., to twist and lead people astray. This is a door that has been left open for them to do so, and they shall be judged accordingly, because this life is nothing but a test. Even in the Quran, we are tested in this particular way. Further on, he gives an example. He says, كما لو احتج النصارى بأن القرآن قد نطق بأن عيسى هو روح الله وكلمته ألقاها إلى مريم. And this is like if the Christians were to argue, which they have done by the way, that the Quran has clearly stated that Isa is Ruhullah, is a spirit from Allah. Ruhullah وكلمته ألقاها إلى مريم, and the word of Allah sent down to Maryam, or thrown into Maryam. وَتَرَكُوا الْإِحْتِجَاجِ بِقَوْلِهِ, whereas they do not look at إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا عَبْدٌ أَنْعَمْنَا عَلَيْهِ. He is nothing but a abd. He is nothing but a slave. We have bestowed our bounties upon him. And the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنَّ مَثَلَ عِيسَى عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَمَثَلِ آدَمَ. Verily the example of Isa with Allah is like Adam. خَلَقَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ قَالَ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونَ. He has created him out of dirt, out of soil, and then he said, be, and so he was. Then further on, we have the hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or let's say here, وقد روى هذا الحديث البخاري عند تفسير هذه الآية ومسلم في كتاب القدر من صحيحه وأبو داود في السنن لا في السنة من سننه ثلاثتهم عن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها قال تلا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هذه الآية هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات إلى قوله وما يذكر إلا أولو الألباب. قالت قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فإذا رأيت الذين يتبعون ما تشابه منه فأولئك الذين سمى الله فاحذروهم. اللفظ للبخاري. So Imam al-Bukhari as well as Muslim and Abu Dawood all have reported from Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha that she said the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam has recited this ayah هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات until وما يذكر إلا أولو الألباب. Then he said sallallahu alayhi wasallam, فَإِذَا رَأَيْتِ الَّذِينَ يَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ, when you see the ones that are following the ambiguous, فَأُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ سَمَّ اللَّهُ فَاحْذَرُوهُمْ, those are the ones that Allah has named for you. He has clarified these for you. فَاحْذَرُوهُمْ, stay away from them. So, again, the tadad is a contradiction, is a diverging, which is beyond the scope of what can be understood based upon the muhkam, which we take these qawa'id of manhaj, if you want. Rather, this tadad is based upon mutashabih, things that are ambiguous and leading astray from what has been clearly mentioned in our religion. We shall stop here for now. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.